Alrighty, everyone, welcome to a post-game recap here. Patriots Steelers game. We're here with the original crew. I'm David, joined by Chris, who helps with the pregame shows. We're
What
doing this
up?
one day later. I apologize for that. Just couldn't get a co-host to help me with this last night. But what's one day later? It's still getting it out in a decent amount of time. If it's a little dark around me, I apologize because I'm back in my dorm room and the light in my dorm room went out. And I have to wait until someone comes to fix that. So I'm doing my best to make it lighter than it possibly can be, or as light as it can be. But Chris, how are you doing? Enough about me.
Good. How are you?
Doing the best I can. So
Securing the dubs, so that's good.
yeah, so Patriots, spoiler alert. I mean, this isn't really a spoiler unless you're living under a rock, but the Patriots won 17-14 yesterday over the Steelers at Acrisure Stadium. It's still always going to be Heinz Field to me. And they got their first win of the 2022 season. General takeaways before we really dive into this recap.
Well, I thought the defense actually played a pretty decent game. I mean, it was against Trubisky. Pittsburgh, yeah, and Trubisky. I was trying to say them both at the same time. But yeah, I mean, they definitely had a lot of talent with the secondaries, I feel like, and with the Mac Wilson, tip ball and Mills, getting the interception was definitely a benefit of the doubt. And also, I mean, hats off to the special teams. I know Olszewski fumbled the punt, but that kid, I believe his name's Schooler, he was right in front of his face to get the ball. So that was, other than that, I think the offense definitely needs a lot more work. But Aguilar did a phenomenal job, I feel like.
Yeah, I honestly think we both hit the nail on the head in talking about this in a pregame show where we both predicted the Patriots to win, but we knew this was going to be far from a perfect game. And like you just said, like there's still plenty of work to do. The offense was not amazing yesterday. The defense was solid yesterday, minus that one drive from the end of the third quarter to the beginning of the fourth. But this just reminds me of like a throwback Patriots win. I was telling this to my dad yesterday where we weren't old enough to remember this, of course, but in the first few years of the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era, especially that first year we won the Super Bowl in 01, Tom Brady was not lighting up the stat sheet like we're used to today. It was, the Patriots were built defensively based. Bill Belichick's a historically defensive-minded coach. He was a great defensive coordinator with the Giants way back in the day. And we would just win games by dominating on defense and doing practically the bare minimum on offense with a young Tom Brady. And that's kind of what we did yesterday with Mac Jones. Mac Jones didn't look his best yesterday. He had some overthrows, bad interception, but we did just enough to win on offense, defense, and special teams, and we walked away with the victory. And we'll take it as we can get. I think a lot of the games this year, the blueprint is going to be like a throwback Patriots team, where, as I just said, defense is going to win us these games, and we just have to do just the bare minimum on offense, or just maybe a little bit more than a bare minimum on offense to win. And I think we got a teaser yesterday in yesterday's victory on how we're going to be able to win games this season. So we're going to break down this game quarter by quarter. First quarter, Miles Bryant, there was a near scare on that punt return after the Patriots forced the Steelers to go 3-0 on their first possession. It was right by the end zone, and Miles Bryant, who's the punt returner for the Patriots right now, decided to field it instead of letting it bounce. And he bobbled the punt and went out of his hands, but the Patriots were able to recover it in the end zone before Steelers were able to get to it. And luckily, it resulted in a touchback and not a touchdown. So, or even a safety. I was a little confused there. I didn't know what they were going to rule that, but I'm glad that it was a touchback and the Patriots were able to retain possession. But the one question that a lot of people were having on social media, and the one question I have too, is the guy we drafted, I forget which Jones it was. I think Marcus Jones. We have so many Joneses on our teams. But Marcus Jones, I think it was. He was the best punt returner in college, all of college football. Why the heck is he not out there, and why is Miles Bryant out there? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I mean, they used him, I believe, a lot in the preseason because they weren't initially thinking that he was going to make the roster, so they were trying to figure out a different place for him. I mean, in the preseason he did all right, but then when the actual game happened, it's like, what are you doing? It was over his, I believe it was at the 6-yard line. It was like gonna be over his head, and he tried grabbing it, but I feel like at that point you just need to let it go and bounce in the end zone. So
I think he was nervous about so there was a Steelers player running to his right, and I think he saw him in his peripheral vision, Miles Bryant, and he was worried about letting the ball bounce and having that guy down at the 1, so he kind of panicked and just tried to field it himself. But as you said, and as I said, like that was just the worst decision possible, and it resulted in a turnover right off the bat, which would have easily probably led to Pittsburgh points one way or another. So thankfully, nothing came of that, and the Patriots were able to get the ball. But it's weird to have such a gaffe in like special teams play by a Bill Belichick-led team, because that's just his bread and butter. He always talks about in press conferences over the years. Special teams is just as important as offensive defense. So nothing came of that, though, thankfully. And the first drive for the Patriots, just like last week, started off very smoothly. Jacoby Myers had a lot of catches where Mac Jones would throw to him over the middle, and then he'd run to get some yards after the catch. He was using some good power running up the middle by Damian Harris. I thought that this was a good adjustment by the Patriots offense all game and switching to the power running again instead of trying to do the zone running, because one of the focal points of this new offense this year that we saw last week against Miami was all these stretch runs or runs to the outside where you pick on the defensive ends and just run it to the outside and try and cut around the corner. That didn't work well last week in Miami, but we accepted that and we moved past that and are going back to our power runs, which worked really well in this game. Got to give the offense credit for, going back to the old reliable. So Myers, a lot of catches, good power running by Damian Harris. A delay of game stalled the drive later on. It was otherwise a solid drive, but we couldn't recover after the delay of game. So we had to settle for a field goal on that first drive. But right off the bat, the Patriots are on the board 3-0 early in this game. So it was a solid opening drive. Unfortunate that it was a delay of game penalty. I forget in this instance who it was on the offensive line, but at least we were able to walk away with points on this first drive for the Patriots, unlike last week.
yeah, I believe it was a Isaiah Wynn, I think it was, for that penalty. But I mean, I guess it's a step in the right direction. I mean, last week we didn't score any points on the first drive. We threw a pick, and now we actually get 3 points on the board for the first drive. I guess it's moving in the right direction, but we just need to have that extra, oomph, I would say, like an extra, starter to actually get 7 points.
Definitely, because you can't just settle for field. Like in a game like yesterday against a Pittsburgh team that are who they are, nothing against them, but you can learn to live with settling for field goals, as we did. We won the game yesterday, but against a macho offense like the Baltimore Ravens and then the Green Bay Packers coming up after that, can't really be settling for field goals like we did yesterday. But we got on the board early, better than a turnover, and then on the next drive for Pittsburgh, there was a bit of a controversial play. Deontay Johnson was brought down to the ground by Jalen Mills, and the ball popped out. Josh Uche recovered it, and he brought it back to the house for a touchdown. But upon further review, even though the ball looked like it was already moving in Deontay's arm before his knee went down, the refs ruled that he was down by contact, and it was a first down Pittsburgh, and they retained possession. So I don't know if you remember this play that I'm talking about, Chris, but what did you think about that? Did you think that was a fumble, or did the refs get it right?
Yeah, I do believe it was a fumble. I think right as his knee was about to hit the ground, the ball was moving, and it could have gone either way. But I do see why they said to keep the possession, because I think his elbow was hitting as well. I don't know if I'm mixing up the plays with the 2-point conversion or not, but that was also another one as well that could have been questionable. So
yeah, because it looks like on the play, the fumble early on, like before he had been brought down, as we both said, it didn't look like he had control in like his cradle of the ball. It already looked like the ball was bobbling out before the knee went down. And, it's one of those bang plays. And I guess the refs saw enough to overturn the call and just allow the Steelers to keep the ball. So it is what it is. That was in the books. And
well, I figured the fact that they kept the play going, I mean, it could have gone either way at that point, because when it was in live action, you could clearly see it looked like a fumble, but when on replay, it's a whole different story. So
Right, that's a good point because they let Uche recover it, as you said, and then no whistles and just let him run to the house with it. So, you know, it is what it is. Pittsburgh continues on that drive. They did a good mix of running with their backup running back Warren because they didn't want to put too much pressure on Najee Harris early, and they were also passing it to our good friend Patrick Frymuth a little bit here and there. And later on that drive, as they were approaching field goal range, Mitch Trubisky tried to find Deontay Johnson open on the slant. This is what you were talking about earlier, where Mac Wilson read the play, jumped up, and tipped the pass right into Jalen Mills' arms. And it's an interception for the Patriots, and that was their first turnover of the season. Just a heads-up play by Mac Wilson at the linebacker position, sensing that he was going to throw to Deontay Johnson, who was running the slant route, and he did enough to tip it right over to Mills' ways, and Jalen Mills ended up with his first interception with the New England Patriots. So Patriots get the ball right back, and this was just great play by our defense here.
yeah, no, I agree with that. I felt like I understood why Trubisky was trying to throw over there because I think he was reading that the Mac Wilson was going to push up, and he was pushing up. But when they snapped the ball, he was set back, further, and he tried forcing it, which he shouldn't have. And I think he had I think they had a slant on the other side that he could have thrown to, but it was already too late when he already threw the ball. And when the ball's tipped up in the air, when it's trouble. There's trouble.
Definitely. I mean, that's all those defensive backs practices, tip drills, and Jalen Mills, a seasoned veteran in the NFL, was right there and took the ball and got the interception. And it's definitely easy for us, like armchair quarterbacks at home, to say, like, what was Mitch Trubisky thinking? Like, how did he not see Mac Wilson? But you kind of touched upon it too, where plays like that, they're like designed where you're like meant to force it to someone. At least that's what I got the sense of it from. And it's almost like, you see Mac Wilson, but it's just such a bang play. It's just hard for you to stop and think for a minute, like, oh God, maybe I shouldn't throw that. Mitch was just dead set on getting the ball to Deontay, and he just did it all in one motion. He threw it to him. And it was a nice little athletic play by Mac Wilson to make a little jump for it, put his arms out and deflect it. And it worked out for the Patriots. And that was a great play, but 3 plays later and 56 seconds of gameplay later, we give the ball right back to Pittsburgh. For the second straight week, Mac Jones tried to force it down the field to Devontae Parker. And as we talked about in the pregame report, the one guy we needed to watch out for in the Pittsburgh secondary was Minkah Fitzpatrick. And Minkah was the one who came down with the interception on display, intercepting his former college teammate, Mac Jones. And it was basically a punt, but Pittsburgh gets the ball back. And this is what I was worried about. I didn't know if we were going to try and challenge Minkah Fitzpatrick early, but Matt Patricia made the call to try and get Parker involved and force it down the field. But for the second straight week, it didn't work. The ball was a little bit underthrown too. And we paid for challenging Minkah Fitzpatrick. So I wasn't the biggest fan of this play call. I'm not against, having Mac Jones work at his deep ball. As we saw later in this game, it worked out. But I'm not opposed to having Mac Jones, throw deep every once in a while. But I didn't think that this was a good play call. And I think we're just, as I said, literally just trying to force Devontae Parker into this offense. And it's just not working out so far. So just not a good string of 3 plays right there. And we just give them the ball right back.
No, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a Debbie Downer, you're kind of actually getting some motion going, maybe a little bit of play action, but then we decided on 3rd down and 5 at our own 45-yard line, we just try to just throw a bomb. Like, I mean, I get the mindset that it is equivalent to a punt, but you could have more options available. And on that play, I think that was definitely 2 high safeties.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
Parker was going to do I think he was doing like a stream or more like a vertical.
Right down the middle of the field, the one place you don't want him to be.
Right, and Fitzpatrick was coming towards the left side, towards the middle where Devontae Parker was, and it was kind of like more like a jump ball. I question why they do so many of these 50-50 balls, Because I feel like in the past 2 games, they're kind of more like 80-20.
Yeah, and it's just like I hope Devontae Parker does well. And obviously, the results aren't great in the first 2 games, but I think there's some great value with what we got him for this offseason, only giving up a 5th-round pick. I mean, I just think like Matt Patricia is just really trying to force him into this offense, and it's like, why not give some of his opportunities to someone like Kendrick Bourne, who, besides a couple catches yesterday, was pretty quiet again yesterday.
Funny thing is, they both have the same amount of targets, but Devontae Parker has been on 109 snaps, and Kendrick Bourne's been on like 26. So, and he has more yardage than Devontae Parker.
Yeah, so that was a bad play. I blame part of that on Patricia for the play call, and another part of that, slight little bit on that of Mac Jones with the underthrown ball. We have a comment here from one of our good friends. Not going to put that up on the screen because it's just ridiculous. But anyways, happy birthday to this person's sister. I'll say that. But that was pretty much all the highlights for the first quarter. Now we're going to get into the second quarter. Didn't start off great for the Patriots after giving the ball back to the Steelers after the Mac Jones INT. Deontay Johnson was really cooking Miles Bryant and Jalen Mills on back-to-back 3rd down and long plays. On 3rd down and 10, he made a nice catch doing like a comeback / out route to the sideline. He made it look easy, and credit to Mitch Trubisky for fitting it in between Miles Bryant and I think Jonathan Jones on that play. And then on the 3rd and 17, this was pretty inexcusable. Jalen Mills was covering Deontay Johnson on that play, and Deontay Johnson did another comeback route to the sideline and absolutely cooked Jalen Mills for the 1st down conversion. You know, maybe I'll sum this up later, but I'll just say this now. Like, Jalen Mills did not have a great game yesterday, and I think a lot of people did or think he did because he had that interception. But I love the guy, but that was practically like it fell into his hands. Like, he didn't have to do too much for that interception. And throughout the whole game, he was pretty badly cooked by Deontay Johnson. Granted, Deontay Johnson's a heck of a wide receiver, and he's the number 1 target in Pittsburgh's offense, but I expected a little bit more from him yesterday in coverage.
Yeah, I mean, when they figured out that Jalen Mills was getting burnt half the time, you notice that he went on to, I don't know if he's a rookie or this is his 2nd year, George Pickens.
Rookie. Yeah.
He is a rookie, okay. And you notice that he was actually starting to get a little more comfortable, and notice that I think he only had 1 target for like 5 yards or something. So he was definitely getting more confidence back on that. But Deontay Johnson's just a whole different ballgame compared to Jalen Mills. So I'm glad they finally touched it up and changed the position for him.
And, you know, Mitch Trubisky was getting it going on that drive, connecting with Deontay Johnson a lot, as we said. Najee Harris was also getting going on this drive. He was running with authority. So it looked like this drive could end in trouble for the Patriots, but Tavai, who's a linebacker for the Patriots, sacked Mitch Trubisky, ended up holding Pittsburgh to a field goal. So with the drive starting off looking pretty scary, the Patriots were able to hold the Steelers to 3. And it was 3-3 early in the second quarter. And just a good drive, good resilient drive of the Patriots to bend but not break. So we move on from that. Not much else happens throughout the second quarter until the very end. It's the final drive before the half, and Mac Jones fires one deep down the field to Nelson Aguilar, who absolutely mossed Witherspoon of the Steelers secondary for the catch and the score. Touchdown Patriots, and it's 10-3 going into the half. Do you just want to break down that play right there for us?
No, yeah, I mean, he just basically he threw a go ball, essentially, and I felt like it was a little underthrown by Mac Jones because the problem was he threw it more towards on the inside than the outside of Nelson Aguilar. He should have been on the back shoulder, but he threw it where Witherspoon, the corner, could have easily intercepted that. But Nelson Aguilar made a spectacular play by jumping over and catching the ball basically out of Witherspoon's hands, and he fell, and Nelson Aguilar went over the goal line and scored. I was very nervous about him, Aguilar, because I thought he almost didn't. I almost thought that they didn't count the touchdown because of what he did at the end. Did you notice that?
Oh, when he flipped the ball up, you thought it
Yeah,
was
I
before
thought he
before
wasn't
he broke
over
the
yet.
plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a controversy that happened at the end of the Raiders Cardinals game. I don't know if you caught that, just to go on a tangent for a bit, but when the Cardinals did the scoop and score on overtime, they had to review it because the Cardinals player threw
Hmm.
the ball in celebration. They didn't know if he broke the plane, but yeah, I wasn't nervous myself, but I can get why you were nervous with something like that because you just want to make sure that they break the plane and then you can celebrate. But heck of a play from Aguilar. Easily his best play as a Patriot in his 2 seasons so far. He obviously had that deep play last year against the Chargers. It was like 60 yards. That was pretty much his only highlight last year, unfortunately. But this was all Aguilar. This is a pretty, I wouldn't say it was an ill advised throw, but this throw could have ended in horror for the Patriots.
Hmm.
Witherspoon was in a great position to intercept this one, as is right by his helmet. But like you said, Aguilar just absolutely mossed him, snatched it away from his helmet, lifted it up, and then just ran in for the score. And I got to credit Mac Jones. I know there's a lot of people who, after last season, question his line at the line playmaking, but he realized that on the edge, right before the half, you have Nelson Aguilar in single coverage, no Minka Fitzpatrick lurking over there. Why not take a shot? And again, it wasn't the best throw, and it was heck of a coverage by Witherspoon. And obviously, the Steelers secondary is not the best in the league. It's been ranked one of the worst in the league, but heck of a great coverage by Witherspoon. Aguilar just made a better catch, and just credit to Mac Jones and I guess maybe even Matt Patricia for the play call there. And it worked out because the Patriots went into the half up 10-3. Little bit of a scare right before the half as Mitch Trubisky found Deontay Johnson for a deep throw, and it looked like they could get in a field goal range with like 20 seconds left in the half. But Matt Judon put that to rest with a sack. Like I said, the Patriots went into the half leading 10-3. So how are you feeling at this point at the half?
I was a little worried, but then I saw that last drive with Mr. Trubisky. I don't know what he was thinking. I thought he was trying to get out of bounds, but then he like stopped and then basically waited for Matthew Judon to tackle him inside, you know, not out of bounds. So it was kind of like I was like, "What are you doing?"
Right. So yeah, that end of the half could have gone worse, but I definitely want to say, like I'll say right now too, that a positive to take away from this game is the Patriots' clutch game management because we got a big score right before the end of the half, and we dominated the second half of the fourth quarter. Like that was flawless, which we'll get into.
I feel like the majority of the time when we win the toss, I feel like that's always a good sign for things to come. Or at least I feel like the majority of the times, in my perspective, that we always usually win the game, I would say.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great sight to see there. So we head into the second half, and it's the third quarter. The first drive of the second half for the Patriots, as you said, because we won the toss, we got the ball at the beginning of the second half. Began with some nice completions to Kendrick Bourne and Damian Harris. And Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson had some solid power runs on that drive too. And the good thing about the runs yesterday, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, Chris, is that the runs yesterday, besides one at the end for Damian Harris, didn't go for that many yards. But 3 or 4 yards on first down made all the difference, put us in second and manageable. So, again, I said this earlier, but I think we did a great job running the ball yesterday, too.
I noticed that they weren't doing as much of the outside runs as much
Yep,
or any like toss. I felt like they went back to what they do best, just pounding it down the middle. So
definitely.
that was definitely a plus, and I hope they continue with that. But I understand why they want to, go on the outside sometimes because they've been working on it for a while. But I feel like they just need to practice on that more. And what they had previously, they should just keep.
Yeah, and that's like the bread and butter. The Patriots' run success the last few years is just running it right up the gut. That's how Harris was so good last year. That's how Stevenson was so good last year. And I definitely think we probably would have ran it up the gut anyways. Like if TJ Watt was healthy, we definitely probably still would have ran it up the gut, so we didn't have to deal with them on the outside. Hayes Smith wasn't much of a factor yesterday, but he's their other defensive end. I might have butchered his name, but the Steelers' defensive ends are pretty good. So I think regardless, the game plan yesterday was just to go back to what worked and just run it up the gut. And it's always healthy to mix in a couple pitches or a couple tosses, which the Patriots did again yesterday, but I think we can both agree that it was a good idea by the Patriots to just go back to what they're good at. So that's what they did on this drive. It started off well. Mac had a couple of bad throws on this drive, though, and that's kind of what deteriorated this drive. He overthrew Kendrick Bourne on a play over the middle that would have been an easy first down. He overthrew Myers out of bounds in another play on a third down. So we were settled because of these overthrows or we were forced, to settle because of these overthrows for 53-yard field goal attempts from Nick Folk. And that kick went wide right. No good, but it was still 10-3 Patriots at this point. So just disappointing end of the drive. But I thought, again, very similar to last week, it was another drive, and we're going to get better at this as the season progresses, but it was another one of those drives where it showed promise, but it was just our own self-inflicted mistakes that kind of ended it. Obviously, with this one being Mac Jones with the overthrows. So take a second right now, I guess, to ask you. A lot of people are asking if maybe Mac Jones' back injury is more serious than we thought, and that's why he didn't really look that good yesterday. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't think his back injury was that much of an issue. I do feel like it was back spasms. I mean, because it's still relatively the same offense as it was last week. I mean, because we had, majority of the plays were very similar to last week, and it looked like he threw the ball pretty well. I mean, he could step up a little and maybe put a little more juice into those throws and maybe have a couple better reads, but he's definitely progressing with this new coaching carousel he has right now.
Definitely. And as it always goes with the Patriots, and as Belichick has always said, you really figure out what your team is capable of, not in September, not really in October, but like right around Thanksgiving. Of course, not going to be able to take too much out of these games in September, but you hope you improve week after week. But I would say we're going to have a pretty good idea of what this team is capable of by like game 6 or game 7. And, it's obviously going to be a work in progress with the new offensive system and the new offensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, and Joe Judge and the whole crew. So 10-3 Patriots. They give the ball back to the Steelers. Close to midfield. It was at their own 34 at this point. But the Steelers are unable to do too much on this drive. They are able to get in field goal range, and they end up kicking a 52-yard field goal from Chris Boswell, which is good. So that makes it 10-6 Patriots in the third. We still have the lead. But the big play on this drive was the Jabril Peppers coming out party, because this is the drive where he made 2 huge big tackles to stuff Pittsburgh and keep them from getting any farther. So just get situational defense by New England once again to bend but not break. And Jabril Peppers, a guy who we picked up this offseason, he's coming off a torn ACL. I would say he had a pretty good game yesterday. He laid down the hammer with a lot of his hits, and that was a fun sight to see.
Well, at least it's good that we have a decent safety, team. What's it called? Yeah, safety team. I would say a lot of backups that are definitely good. I mean, after Kyle Duggar, I believe he was out for the game after that. Jabril Peppers definitely stepped up and showed what the Giants lost.
Do you think the safety room is the strongest unit on the Patriots? That's what Belichick said this preseason?
I'd say depth-wise, yes. I would say overall, I think it's more of an improvement with the linebacking core this year than, because I feel like we've always had decent safeties, but the what the new scheme is to have younger and faster linebackers was definitely helpful for these upcoming seasons.
Definitely. So after the Patriots get the ball back, they're unable to do too much with the ball, so they punt it back to Pittsburgh. And I think you know where I'm going with this. This was essentially the turning point of the game yesterday. We punted back to old friend Gunnar Olszewski and the Pittsburgh Steelers, but Olszewski muffs the punt. And as we talked about earlier, the Patriots, Schooler specifically on the special teams unit of the Patriots, recovered the punt. And this was quite the gift from none other than a former New England Patriot who spurned us in free agency. He even said a couple of days before that whenever you play the X, you always want to show out. And, you want to show out to the team that didn't want you. So he's implying that the Patriots didn't make much of an effort to re-sign him, which honestly I believe. But this was a revenge game. It was very personal, Gunnar Olszewski's head. But it went off his face mask. He muffed the punt. And Schooler recovered for the Patriots in prime scoring position. And as I said, this was just quite the gift because we were struggling to get anything going on offense at this point. You felt as if the momentum was starting to shift to Pittsburgh, but they gave us a gift, and we take it to the house as a few plays later, Damian Harris ran it up the gut for a touchdown, and just like that, it goes from 10-6 Patriots with the Steelers having the ball and getting momentum to all the momentum on the Patriots side and them going up 17-6.
Well, I mean, don't forget the Mac Jones throw that he almost threw another interception.
Oh, was that on that drive?
It was, yeah. It was. I believe it was third and long, and he scrambled out of the pocket, and he threw a ball threw it essentially in the ground.
That's
but
right.
Sutton almost, I don't know how he didn't catch this ball. I felt like he was catching it and then all of a sudden wanting to get up, but he dropped it. So that could have been a huge game changer. That would have been at the 50, and that would have definitely at least cost us 3 points. But lucky he had butterfingers right there.
Yeah, so now I'm looking at this in my notes because that was a very rough drive, including what you just said, how Mac gave Sutton an easy pick, but he couldn't corral it. And that reminds me of that 2017 game that we were talking about at the pregame. It was the Jesse James game where the Patriots were down in that game, and Tom Brady basically gave someone a gift. I think it was a linebacker on the Steelers, a gift of an interception, and he couldn't corral it. And at that point, I think all of us in Patriots Nation knew, well, we're winning this game. We're going to make them pay for not capitalizing on our mistake. And 5 years later, basically just did the same thing right there with Mac Jones. So thank you for that mistake, Pittsburgh. Thank you, Gunnar Olszewski, for still helping out the New England Patriots, even though you're wearing a different uniform now. And we go up by double digits. But Pittsburgh is not going down without a fight as they lead an excellent drive, their best drive of the game, from the end of the third quarter to the beginning of the fourth quarter. Mitch Trubisky finally gets in a rhythm. The whole offense for Pittsburgh finally gets in a rhythm. They have big chunk plays for runs from Najee Harris. Gunnar Olszewski took an end-around handoff for a big run. Deontay Johnson, as I talked about earlier, cooked Jalen Mills on a comeback out route. And on the first play of the fourth quarter, Mitch Trubisky finds our guy, Patrick Freiermuth, for a touchdown. And at that point, it's 17-12. And they go for two to make it a 3-point game. And do you want to just talk about this 2-point conversion here? Because I know you were mentioning how it was kind of controversial earlier.
Yeah, it was a little controversial because I thought that he was out of bounds due to his elbow being on the white of the end zone. So I thought he was out of bounds there. But because there was a little patch of green in between, it was able to be accepted. I mean, but that wasn't really a great throw by Trubisky. I felt like it was a little too outside for him, and he had to dive for it. So, which could have cost him 2 points.
Yeah, that was certainly not the best throw from him. Amazing catch from Deontay Johnson, but also just very frustrating. You know, if you're a Patriots fan watching Jalen Mills get cooked the whole game, he got cooked in that play again. It's like, how does this keep happening? And at that point, Yeah, we're getting pretty nervous for sure because the Patriots, in a matter of minutes, went from being up 11 and all the momentum on their side to the Steelers just getting right back into this game and, it being a field goal game now. So that was very nerve wracking. How do you think, we'll just take time to talk about this right now, though, but how do you think Mitch Trubisky played yesterday?
If I had to put a scale of 1 to 10, I would say a 4. Because, I mean, yeah, he had a couple good plays here and there, and yeah, they came back a little bit, but there was a lot of plays that were bad. I mean, he had a couple high throws, he threw an interception, and then I believe it was the couple last drives on the in the game. I know you're probably going to talk about it. He kind of just checked down a couple of times that in kind of just ran it a few times that he probably shouldn't have. So it was, here and there. He wasn't as attentive and alert as he used to be back when he was, with the Bears. And I heard everyone in the crowd were like, I believe they were chanting Kenny or Pickett because, he wanted him to be the
Yes.
quarterback. So they were saying like, let's get the rookie in, because I do agree if this keeps continuing for them, they're going to definitely have to get that kid ready.
Yeah, I mean, definitely didn't play amazing. I thought he had some decent reads, but I don't think either quarterback played amazing yesterday. Trubisky, 21 of 33, 168 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Mac Jones, 21 of 35, 252 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Neither quarterback, again, did anything spectacular to wow me, but, I think Mitch Trubisky is just a guy that Pittsburgh is looking to be that bridge quarterback to get ready for Pickett or Pickens. I forget which one it is, but everyone knows who I'm talking about. The rookie quarterback begins with a P. They just looked at Trubisky kind of as like a Jimmy Garoppolo or game manager. I think I mentioned that in our other show, but yeah. So 17-14, getting back to the game. 6. Yeah, we get the ball back with 6.5 minutes left in this game. So excuse me. So okay, I'm jumping way ahead. So we get the ball back right after Pittsburgh scores. Mac Jones found Jacoby Myers over the middle for a huge 3rd and 9 conversion. But on 3rd and 5, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with Devontae Parker. There was miscommunication by Devontae Parker and Mac Jones on a play that forced New England to punt. Mac Jones thought that they would throw back shoulder, or that Parker would go back shoulder catch, which is where Mac threw it, but it was underthrown. Devontae Parker thought it was just going to be a straight fade route or a straight shot where you just keep running. Either way, miscommunication between them two. Pass falls incomplete. New England punts it back, but they force 3-0 on the ensuing possession as on 3rd down, Jalen Mills, Devin McCourty, and Adrian Phillips team up to force a gang tackle and stop the Steelers on 3rd down. So the Patriots get the ball right back. Steelers force a 3-and-out themselves. Mac Jones tried to force it to Jonnu Smith in double coverage, even though Jacoby Myers on that play was wide open in the flat. But for whatever reason, they're just trying to force it at Jonnu as well as Devontae Parker to try and get them involved in the offense. So we were forced to punt it right back to them. Early takeaways from Jonnu early in the year? 2 games in, I thought we saw glimpses of what he could do against Miami, and I honestly thought he would have a bigger game against Pittsburgh with my game plan of, just want to get the ball out of Mac's hands quickly and give it to someone like Jonnu who can catch and run with the ball. Are you surprised, disappointed, not surprised to see that Jonnu wasn't really a big part of the game plan yesterday?
I mean, a little bit. I felt like Hunter Henry should be the clear number 1 tight end, and we didn't see any of that with him. And the fact that they used Jonnu Smith is kind of like an extra reliable tight end. It's because they always want to keep doing that 2 tight end sequence, but I can understand why they're using Jonnu Smith because they're definitely trying to get his money's worth because last year he didn't really do that great. So they're trying to definitely put him more into the new scheme.
Yeah, so Right, we didn't really see too much from either tight end yesterday. I think Jonnu got 2 targets, and I don't even really remember anything that Hunter Henry did, honestly. Definitely surprising. You think that you rely on the tight ends, especially to help out with the running game, with us now being a run-heavy team. But it is what it is, and just getting back to it. 3-and-out, 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 and the Steelers get the ball back one final time, but the Patriots force a 3-and-out on a heck of a play by Matt Judon to break up the pass to Najee Harris. We might have gotten lucky on this play because Matt Judon did not turn his head around to defend Najee Harris, and that could have been pass interference. Steelers obviously were hoping for pass interference, but the pass falls incomplete, and the Steelers have to punt it back to New England with 6 minutes and 33 seconds left on the clock. And this is where it's early in the season, of course, but this is the most impressed I've been with New England early in the season. We turned a 6 minute and 33-second situation into our 4-minute offense package, and we drained out the clock completely. The last 6 minutes is a throwback to when we last won the Super Bowl, and especially in that Chiefs game where we just were run heavy in the AFC Championship until obviously we had to pass it a lot more, but we were run heavy to try and keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. That's exactly what we did at the end of the game here. And we just, as I said, drained the last 6 minutes and 33 seconds off the clock in this one. Couple highlights on this drive. 3rd down and 2. Max scrambled for the first down using his feet. Followed that up with back-to-back power runs from Stevenson. And then Harris ran his way to the victory for the Patriots for the rest of this one. He had a huge run for 16 yards right before the 2-minute warning. And then on 3rd and 3, he iced the game with the first down run of about 5 or 6 yards. Looked like he hurt his knee on this play, but apparently, according to Damian Harris after the game, he will be fine. But Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, with their running, they combined for over 100 yards running. Get us a victory at the end here. And, I mean, I can't say enough about how well we ended this game, as sloppy as it was overall. I love how that final drive went. As I said, that final drive helped us win over the Steelers by a score of 17-14. As in the 21st century, the New England Patriots, with or without Tom Brady, continue to dominate Pittsburgh.
No, yeah, I mean, at least we avoided the 0-2 start, I believe, since 2001. They said about 20 years we've never had an 0-2 start, so we avoided that. But I was kind of nervous at the end when Damian Harris got hurt because it technically counts as a timeout. So I thought we had to run maybe 1 or 2 more plays because of that, but luckily it was the first down and we could have just kneeled it the whole time.
Yeah, so solid win. I think the defense was great, minus that one drive, as I talked about. The offense did enough. Granted, this is a Pittsburgh team that we were expected to beat, even though we were only favored by 2.5 because they're a shell of what they once were. But it was a much-needed win. And as we talked about, it's wild to think that Game 2 of a Patriots season is a must-win victory. But this was a must-win game, and we won. So our season is still alive, Chris.
Yeah. Hope it continues this way.
So solid win. Shout out to Robert Kraft, too. His 500th game as owner, and we got him the victory. And, yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. Don't know the situation with Duggar, but Harris will be okay. And we'll just move on to Baltimore as we have a special guest joining us here for the end of the
Look, it's me.
Patriots recap.
I bet no one saw this coming.
So, in the last few minutes here, what would you like to say, Mr. Trevor Story? No, don't swear. Okay.
About Story. I have a quick question for it. Maybe I was drinking an adult beverage beforehand. Am I allowed to have a sip of that while on camera, or would you prefer me not to?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, so let me start with Jalen Mills. There's a place for him, and it's a league below the XFL. He is awful. He can't do anything right. He's bad at zone coverage and worse at man. It's quite impressive. His interception was not deserved. Jalen Mills is awful, and he doesn't belong on a football field unless he's maybe part of the band. Besides that, I didn't like that slander for the MVP himself, Mitch Trubisky. I don't stand for that. Trubisky was not the problem with the Steelers team. It was their offensive line was atrocious. Let's not pretend that they weren't. Besides that, Pat Fry scoring a touchdown. I know, Dave, you must be upset about that. I know you hate Pat Fry with some burning rage.
No, I totally didn't eat French fries for a whole week in protest.
Yeah, you protesting? Cool. By the way, God save the Queen, just to make sure we respect her on this day. Happy birthday to Raya, because it's actually her birthday. What else was I gonna say? This team's not good, and let's not pretend that they're good. I think 7 wins is the most you're gonna get. I know this is
played 2 games.
Yeah, I didn't think they deserved 9 wins or 10 wins last year.
Oh, are you talking about the Pats or the Steelers?
Both teams. They're both bad.
Oh, okay.
You just look at that offense, and there's nothing you enjoy about it. When you
keep benching Kendrick Bourne, I would say,
I don't think Bourne deserves to play, though. I think he's the 4th best receiver on this team. Aguilar did something finally, but I
felt like he gained a lot more speed.
The biggest issue is that you have Jacoby Myers, who's a low-end number 2 in this league, and then a bunch of number 3s and 4s. It's kind of like the 2015 Red Sox team of trying to have 5 number 3s and hoping it works. It doesn't work. You need a speed guy that's like a Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, or Jalen Waddle, and you just don't have anything close to that. They don't know how to use Jonnu. They don't. They're signing his paycheck just to, I don't know, stand on the field, throw him a screen pass in double coverage. Like, what are they doing? By the way, I don't know, Dave, you did do some homework on this. What was Hunter Henry's snap count? It felt like he barely played.
Yeah, we were talking about that. I don't have the snap count, but
he was targeted twice.
I think Jonnu had more snaps than Hunter Henry did.
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
I mean, yeah, you're just looking and you're like, I don't even think this is a Patricia issue. Because to be honest, I didn't hate the play calls yesterday. We didn't have that kick mini off that show. But no, you just look at it and you're like, what is this team on offense? What is it? You're going to at least we're not having the 3rd and 18 screen passes now. I'm gladly not seeing those anymore.
Yeah, that's for sure. So
instead we're throwing 50 bombs for an interception. So,
I mean, yeah, Mac underthrew that. Let's not pretend that he didn't.
Which one?
The Aguilar one. He underthrew that by 3 yards.
Yeah.
He got bailed out on that play because Witherspoon couldn't make a play.
Aguilarious play. But we got Baltimore next week. I'm going to come out with a whole video. Here we go. Thank you, Joe. Smith, that sounds accurate.
Oh, wow. Joe's our research guy now.
Joe,
when are you making your random one appearance during the show? Because you send a text to Dave asking if you can join.
He's busy that day.
He's busy that day.
So gonna make a whole video on the Baltimore game later this week, but just guys, give me a quick preview of how we think we're gonna do in the home opener against the Ravens.
Lamar is gonna have 80 fantasy points, and Baltimore is gonna win 70-7.
No, I think with their depleted secondary, I feel like it's going to be a little close, but not that close, because I feel like it's going to be, I think, 35-20 Ravens.
Yeah, I think if we're going to want to win this game, it's just the offense that's going to have to do their best magic act, because the Ravens defense, and it feels crazy saying this, but the Ravens defense just was terrible. And I think it's just going to be up to our offense to literally win this game. But
they let up 28 points in one quarter to the Dolphins this week. And
I think the Patriots should pay the refs for a 12th man on offense.
I'm pretty sure they lost one of their corners, I think, on the last touchdown pass, Williams, I believe. So
6-2. Joe, please tell me that's 3 safeties for the Patriots, right?
No, probably 2 field goals.
The joke went straight over your head, didn't it? I'm gonna hit you with this plastic wiffle ball back because of that one, Chris. No, I don't think they have a shot. I don't. How does this team stop Lamar? Please tell me.
He had I think 120 yards rushing himself.
He had an 80-yard rush in there, so like there's an
Yeah.
asterisk, but still, the D line is slow. The linebackers are slow. The corners
They're
are
a little
slow.
faster than
The
last year,
safeties
though.
are slow. Lamar is the fastest guy on the field, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
true.
particularly close.
Yeah.
Like
So-
they don't have
For the heck of it, I have all the early opening betting lines for this game. Ravens are favored by 3. Who do you take with that?
That's easy money. If you gave me the
Wow.
Ravens 6.5, I'd take it.
I was gonna say 8, but
Like no, yeah, 3 is a slam dunk.
well, it's in the beginning of the week. Well, we'll have to see. You know.
Tyler Huntley could start for the Ravens. I'd still pick Ravens -3.
And then over under 44 points in this game.
Oh. Over because the Ravens will score 50.
No, I think it'll be under just by a little.
Maybe Justin Tucker will kick some like 9 field goals or something.
So we'll have to see what happens.
Wait, who's their number 1 receiver again? It's Bateman now, or is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or who does Jalen Mills leave open next week?
Leave.
Like, does he follow Mark Andrews and leave him open? Who does he leave open? I guess Jonathan Jones is fine, but again, he's like a cornerback 3. He can probably cover Bateman.
I think we should use Jack Jones a little more
At
because
this point,
he's quick.
Just play Jabril Peppers. Just play Peppers, please. Even if Duggar's like healthy, play Peppers.
Yeah, Duggar doesn't understand the whole passing scheme.
No,
He
Duggar's the best.
He
defender.
does really well against run schemes. You know.
Duggar's the best defensive player on this team, and it's not close. Like, I would trust Duggar over anyone else on that defense.
Not
And
even Judon
I'm not a Judon guy.
or Barmore, really? Wow.
Barmore's a second. That looked so awkward, Dave, and that's on the internet forever now. Congratulations. No, I don't. Oh, it is a Judon revenge game. Just realized that.
Yeah.
I just realized it's the Judon revenge game. It doesn't mean he can catch up with Lamar Jackson, though. So,
We'll have to see what happens next Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. It is finally the New England Patriots home opener. And it is always a happy Monday when the Patriots win. We are 1-1 on the season.
Can I add one thing quick? The Ravens game is a strange AFC Fox game. It's a very strange AFC versus AFC game on Fox.
Interesting. Well,
That doesn't happen at all.
we will look forward to this game, and that is going to do it for us here. We got a special guest appearance from a friend of mine who hasn't been on since the Celtics-Nets 2021 days.
Oh, yeah,
So,
that was your birthday present. You know what? This was your birthday present this year, Dave. Congratulations. It's only, 5 months too late?
yeah, well, better late than never. I will be back. Thanks everyone for watching this video. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will be back with more content. Chris, thanks for always doing these with me. You're a great addition to the team. We will
Glad
be
to
back.
be here.
We'll be back later this week at some point, hopefully with a film review. I'm looking forward to trying to do that. But if we don't get that out, I'll be back Saturday night with a preview for the Ravens game. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Happy Monday. It's always a happy Monday when the Patriots win. And I will talk to you soon, everybody. Have a good night.
See
Take
ya.
care.